Hello everyone, my name is Khushi Jain and today I am going to explain a topic of operating systems, that is deadlocks and necessary conditions. So what first comes into your mind when I say the word deadlock? Uh, Many of us would think a traffic jam? Yes, a traffic jam is a situation of deadlock where you are locked up or you are jammed from all the sides. The traffic cannot move smoothly, it's totally jammed. So that is a condition of deadlock. But that's in real life. What? So we'll know about deadlock in this video and the conditions for deadlock. So we are going to hit upon two main topics. The first is what is deadlock and the second the condition for deadlock. The first question, what is deadlock? According to operating system or in terms of operating system, a deadlock is a situation in which more than one process is blocked because it is holding a resource and also requires some resource that is acquired by some other process. That is, I have a process P1 which holds a resource and it requires some other resource which is held by some other process. So both the processes cannot execute. Thus, none of the processes get executed and it results into deadlock. Now this we can understand this in a better way by taking some real life examples. So I have two real life examples for you. The first is the example of these two trains. As you can see in the image, when two trains are coming towards each other on the same track and there is only one track. Now none of the trains can move once they are in front of each other. When these trains come and will hit upon at this point, it would be a deadlock situation because none of the trains can move forward. There is no other track. So this is a real life example of deadlock. Another example is which I showed you on the previous slide. The chessboard. Now, when does a deadlock occurs on a chessboard? In the situation of checkmate. So checkmate is the deadlock situation where you cannot move your king anywhere and thus you lose the game. So these were two examples of deadlock. I hope it's somewhat clear to you. Now talking in terms of operating system. Let's take an example of two processes, process 1 and process 2. So here in this example, process 1 is holding resource 1 and process 2 is holding resource 2. Here resource 1 is assigned to process 1 and resource 2 is assigned to process 2. But the problem is that the process 1 is waiting for resource 2 to get executed and process 2 is waiting for resource 1 to get executed, and because of this none of the process can get executed because each process holds a resource and needs the other resource as well. So this is not possible and thus the processes cannot get executed, which results into deadlock. So this is in terms of operating system. Another example is, for example, a system has two tape drives P1 and P0. Each hold one tape drive and each need another one. So how can we explain the situation? Firstly, P0 executes wait A and preempts. Preempts, that is, move on to the next process. It takes PO to the waiting P0 into the waiting list, and P1 executes wait B. This is the process because it is waiting for the resource B and P0 is waiting for resource A while they are holding each other's resources which they are waiting for. Now here P0 and P1 enter into deadlock. We can understand by this table that P0 is waiting for A and P1 is waiting for B, and then P0 is waiting for B and P1 is waiting for A. This creates a deadlock situation because neither P0 nor P1 can get executed. I hope that deadlock is clear to you. What is deadlock? And now we come on to the next subtopic of our presentation, that is condition for deadlock. So there are four necessary conditions for a deadlock to arise, and they are: first, mutual exclusion; second, hold and wait; third, no preemption; and fourth, circular wait. Let's understand each of them one by one. The first is mutual exclusion. In mutual exclusion, only one process can use a resource at any given time. That is, the resources are non-shareable. How you can understand is, in the previous example I showed you, let me take you back. Over here, each process holds one resource and this resource cannot be shared by this process. Thus, they enter into deadlock. So, mutual exclusion means, let's come back. Yeah. When a process can use a resource at a given time, but one process that the resource can be held by only one process. That resource cannot be used by any other process. That means the resources are non-shareable. So if two processes cannot share a resource, which this creates a condition of mutual exclusion. So this is mutual exclusion. The second point is hold and wait. So hold and wait, what does it mean by hold and wait? A process is holding at least one resource at a time, and at the same time it is waiting for other resources held by some other process. Means holding one resource and waiting for another. That is hold and wait. This is the second condition for deadlock. The third condition is no preemption. No preemption. Now what preemption means, that when a process P1 is getting executed, or it is using some resource, and some another higher priority process P2 comes, then the resource gets allocated to P2 and P1 is sent to the waiting list. Now firstly the process P2 will get executed and then P1 will be taken back from the waiting list. The resource will get allocated back to P1 and then it will get executed. So that is what preemption means. But no preemption means that process P1 will first get completely executed, then only it will give that resource to another process P2. So that means no preemption. It won't go into the waiting list, it won't give its resource to another process before it gets executed. That is, the resource can be released by a process voluntarily only, not against its will or not involuntarily or voluntarily. So that is after the execution of the process. The fourth situation is the circular wait. Now circular wait is a set of processes when a set of processes are waiting for each other in a circular fashion. For example, let's say we have a set of processes P0, P1, P2 and P3 such that P0 is depending on P1, P1 is depending on P2, P2 depends on P3 and P3 depends on P0. That is, each of the processes depending on the other. So which one will be executed first? That's not possible. This creates a circular relation between all these processes and they have to wait forever till eternity to be executed. So this is the fourth necessary condition. Now without all these four conditions, deadlock won't occur. So we need all these four conditions compulsorily to get into the situation of deadlock, or for the operating system to get into the situation of deadlock. Let's take an example to understand how these four conditions are necessary for deadlock. So here there are two processes and two resources in this image, as you can see. Process 1 holds resource 1 and process 2 holds resource 2. While process 1 needs resource 2 and process 2 needs resource 1, but already it is held by other process. Now this creates a situation of deadlock because none of the two processes can be executed. How? So let's understand how these four conditions apply on this example. Now since the resources are non-shareable, they can only be used by one process at a time. That is, resource 1 can be only used by process 1 and resource 2 can only be used by process 2. Because these resources are non-shareable. That is mutual exclusion. So the first condition is applied over here. The second condition, which is hold and wait. So each process is holding a resource while waiting for the other process to release the resource it requires. So one resource is being held by the process, and another resource is being is in the waiting for that process, like the process is waiting for that resource. So in this case it is hold and wait. So the second condition is also met. The third condition, which is no preemption, and the fourth, circular wait. Let's see how it is met over here. Here none of the two processes release their resources before their execution, or we can say they do not involuntarily release their resources. Firstly, they will execute and then only they will release. That is no preemption. And as each process depends on the other or the resource held by the other, this creates a circular wait. So this is how all the four conditions are met, and because all four conditions are satisfied, this situation can be termed as a deadlock. So I hope that you understood all the four conditions. You got a clear idea about deadlock and what conditions are necessary for deadlock. So let's conclude this video. So what we learned in this video was a deadlock in operating system is a situation in which more than one process is blocked because it is holding a resource and also requires some resource that is acquired or being held by some other process. The second, the four necessary conditions for deadlock situation, we learnt about them. They were mutual exclusion, no preemption, hold and wait, and circular wait. Then we can prevent a deadlock by preventing any four of the necessary conditions for a deadlock. That is, if we prevent any one condition also, then we can prevent a deadlock because all the four conditions are necessary. Then only deadlock will occur. Then there are different ways of detecting and recovering a deadlock in a system. So this was all about my video. Thank you so much.